Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Canadian Car Review Show. Today we'll be reviewing the 2015 Chevrolet Corvette 3LT trim model at Bud's Chevrolet. Since its redesigned debut in 2014, the Corvette has been noted by many car enthusiasts and review channels as one of the best touring and track cars being manufactured in North America today. With its aggressive exterior design cues and a refined interior from its predecessor, the new Corvette has become an appealing product yet again. New for 2015 is the availability of some more technological gadgets for the driver, along with some extra factory options that make the Corvette a true contender on the track. It's 99 pounds lighter than the 2013 Corvette, 57% stiffer, thanks to its aluminum frame, and it can achieve a 0 to 60 mile an hour in 3.8 seconds. Looking at the front end of the Corvette, we're immediately introduced to the aggressive look of the frosted indirect by Xenon HID headlamps that have an LED daytime runner system outlined and built around the black chrome housing. They also act as the turn signal when activated by the driver. A functional air extractor directs air from the front grille up through the forward tilted radiator and out of the engine compartment. The front grille helps reduce front end lift at high speeds and also acts as an increased downforce that improves the vehicle's handling on the track. As we make our way down to the side of the vehicle, proportional geometric shapes transition smoothly from one body panel to another, with a blend of soft curves to some very aggressive edges. These lines have been engineered in the wind tunnel to provide the best aerodynamics for efficiency and road performance on and off the track. Road noise when cruising down the highway and track handling have all been taken accounted for with this body design. Being that this Corvette is the convertible model, it attains the same optimal performance of the coupe. The drop top is fully electronic and can be lowered using the key fob or driver controls at speeds of up to 50 km an hour without the need of mechanical latches. It also hides within the body paneling of the vehicle. The top is made from a 3-ply, sound-absorbing material that helps reduce cabin noise. The rear tail lamps have an angular shape that maintains a signature 4-tail lamp design. Concealed LED reverse lamps and a high-mounted stop lamp completes the upper portion of the rear end. Signature quad stainless steel exhaust tips provide the authenticity of the Corvette along with the including of a dual-mode performance exhaust system on the 3LT model. Adding the Z51 performance package would include dual brake ducts that help control brake temperatures during track demands. The additional airflow is delivered by the front grille. Dual quarter panel intake vents are also added in the Z51 package that help cool the transmission and oil coolers through separate heat exchangers. The hot air is then expelled through the functional rear tail lamp vents and also through the lower rear fascia outlet. Under the hood is GM's LT1 6.2-liter V8 direct injection engine that produces 460 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 465 pound-feet of torque at 4,600 RPM. VVT technology and an active fuel management system help improve fuel economy numbers. A compression ratio of 11.5 to 1 makes the LT1 engine achieve a combined fuel economy rating of 11.7 liters per 100 kilometers. This has also been achieved by completing 6 million hours of computational analysis with fuel mapping. Mounted to the LT1 is a 7-speed manual transmission that is equipped with active rev matching. An 8-speed paddle shift automatic transmission is available in all models of the Corvette. That includes an overdrive and torque converter clutch. A short and long arm double wishbone front and rear suspension help displace the power of the Corvette and consists of cast aluminum upper and lower control arms, a transverse mounted composite leaf spring, and a monotube shock absorber. Optional on the 3LT model is GM's magnetic ride control with performance traction management. A limited slip differential and StabiliTrak electronic traction control system with active handling is standard equipment on the 3LT model. 50-50 weight distribution is achieved with this setup. A variable ratio rack and pinion with EPS is also standard. As for stopping power, the 3LT is equipped with Brembo 4-wheel power disc with 4-piston front and rear calipers and is mounted to 19-inch front and 20-inch rear rims that ride on run-flat tires. Michelin Pilot Super Sport and Super Sport Cup 2 tires are only available on the Z06 model. Opting for the Z51 package will include a performance manual transmission gear ratio that complements the upgraded electronic limited slip differential. Heavy-duty differential and transmission cooling systems are added, along with the use of a dry sump oiling system for the engine. Specific shocks, springs, stabilizer bars are also included, along with larger brake rotors that are slotted. Specific Michelin Pilot Supersport ZP summer tires are installed on the wider rim. The vehicle is then finished off with an aero package that reduces lift for high-speed stability. The interior of the 3LT model is wrapped in Nappa leather throughout the door trim, dashboard, and seating area. Lightweight aluminum trim pieces complement the interior and also give the Corvette a complete fit and finish look. The driver's door consists of power mirrors, windows, door locks, and includes a speaker in the lower door panel. A tweeter is also built into the door pillar. Both the driver and passenger seat is equipped with GT bucket seats and an 8-way electronic seating system with a 2-memory slot function for the driver's seat. Aluminum pedals are standard, along with the TFT screen built into the driver's gauge console. A heads-up display is also equipped on the 3LT model. A Bose 10-speaker center-point surround sound system is standard, along with the 8-inch Chevrolet MyLink radio system with navigation and hands-free phone connectivity. The head unit is also capable of supporting 4G or LTE with Wi-Fi hotspot.
Steering wheel is wrapped in leather and has controls for your cruise control system on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side is controls for your voice recognition, Bluetooth phone connectivity, and controls for the driver's gauge cluster that operates the TFT screen in the center. You also have rev matching paddle shifters left and right for plus and minus configuration, and behind that is your standard lighting controls and your wiper controls. Below that is your radio volume knobs or control buttons, and on the left hand side is your presets for the radio system. The driver's gauge cluster has various options available in the actual system. You can actually change the preference. There's a few that I'll go through in a minute. Right now we're in Sport, so under Sport you have many options. So it'll give you actually information. So right now the top's not secure, so it's just telling us we can dismiss that message. So right now we can show you the display theme. Right now it's in Sport. You can even enable or disable the speed warning system. You can change your pocket gauges. So right now we have our battery voltage on the left hand side, and on the right hand side is the oil temperature. So if I go into this menu here, edit the gauges, on the left hand side I can configure either to have show nothing, blank, oil pressure, oil temperature, battery, and those are my options. So we'll leave it at oil pressure and oil temperature. You also have software information just showing that you're in compliance. You can change the units to metric, and or you can leave it into standard, whichever you prefer. Now the Sport theme, I'm going to show you in a second why it's important to go through that. If you hit the left arrow on the steering column, you run into all these sections here. So in general info, it just gives you your general gauge cluster itself. So a digital tachometer and speedometer, and as well you do have the analog controls when you start the vehicle. However, you do have other options in here as well. So under the performance page, you can show your 0 to 60 times. You can actually set a timer, so whatever speed that you want, it'll give you the actual time it took to get to that speed. Your current and previous times, so you can actually record various times. It also gives you another gauge for oil temperature, oil pressure, battery voltage, tire temperature. And that's pretty much your performance pages set up in Sport. You also have audio controls that you can go through, phone connectivity, navigation system, and there it goes, it's booted up now. So it kind of gives you an idea of where you are in a general location and the smaller screen. And you also have the larger screen for your MyLink system. And you can go back into general settings. Now, for the display theme, this is where it becomes a little bit more important. You can actually link it to your drive mode. So depending on what your drive mode was configured to, just below your shifter, there's an actual knob that you can control, so you can link it to that. Or you can have a preference, so when the vehicle starts up, it can be either in track, sport, or tuning. So if I shift it to track, you'll see the actual gauge itself changes. So right now, it shows a different tachometer. You still have your digital speedometer. But what's interesting is it actually changes your performance page look as well. So not only does it change the general info, but it actually changes the overall performance pages. So now you have all gauges linked up into this one screen, which is nice to have when you are tracking, because you can actually see your lateral G-force, battery voltage, oil pressure, and oil temperature all in one screen. Your best and current lap times if you record it and you configure it. So you can actually check everything in one screen, which is fantastic. You also can go into specific gauges itself if you really want to pinpoint on one preference. And again, it still has your generic gauges in that I just showed you in the Sport. Now if I go back into settings, whoops. If I go back into settings, and I go under display theme and change to touring, again your gauge cluster changes into a different appearance, and your performance page changes as well. So now you have an actual outline of the vehicle itself, a nice picture of it. You'll notice that you have a neon blue glowing tachometer needle, which is nice. You still have your tire pressure monitoring system, and now you have a little bit more information on the right hand side for in terms of engine temperature, oil temperature. It gives you actual numbers, degrees Celsius, kilopascals, whatever you configure it to. And it even tells you your tire pressure, if it's okay or if it requires attention. Still get your basic gauges in the center. So you can actually customize this actual gauge cluster to your preference. It has a few options to it. And what I'll do is I'll link it to the drive mode, because really, if you were driving this vehicle, I would prefer to have the mode selector control my gauges, because at least I know what driving mode I'm in when I start the vehicle. Otherwise, when you do start the vehicle, you don't know if your power steering is in track or sport mode until you go through all the settings. The center driver console consists of a TFT screen that's touchscreen. You also have a screen button here that opens up a hidden compartment behind the screen and has your USB adapter plug-in. You can also put sunglasses and simple items in there. Now for the actual touchscreen itself, you have audio settings, phone connectivity. You can change your microphone settings for your phone once it's paired, navigation, OnStar, and general settings. So under audio, you have a surround sound Bose system inside the car. You can change the volume through here, and the preset using the menu rotary knob here.
It's the first big screen epic of the year. We need a plan. We need firepower.
You also have voice recognition setup and presets that you can actually plug into or program into the vehicle itself. You also have your menu option for your actual audio settings. So under tone settings, you can change the treble, mid-range, and bass, and the positioning of the sound, either the driver, center point, or rear, or you can leave it in normal. You can tag songs as well, and you can have Bose Audio Pilot on or off. HD switching on and off. That only works for a few radio stations in Canada. It is popular in the US. And you also have RDS on and off. You can update your station list, and you can even include high definition radio ID tags. You can always go back to the main menu by clicking on the top left of the screen here, or simply pressing the menu button and back. So your phone connectivity is pretty straightforward. You have your voice recognition for your phone, contact list, recent calls, your keypad, access to your voicemail, and phones that have been paired to the vehicle itself. And you can simply pair a device by clicking on this button. Now once you pair a phone, you actually have microphone settings. So if you do have the top down, it'll amplify the microphone and take away some of the road noise away, so you can still use your phone.
and it'll also change your microphone settings once the top is up. Now your navigation system is linked with Chevrolet MyLink. Doesn't say it, but Chevrolet only uses the MyLink system itself. And again, how you know it is the MyLink system, because it's tied in with OnStart, and it's right now showing us traffic conditions on the major highway. Now right now the GPS system is off because we're inside, so it probably will position itself eventually if we stay in this mode a little bit longer. But what I want to show you guys is the actual settings for the navigation system. So you have your zoom out, zoom in features of the navigation system. You can punch in a definition or destination. You can also go through the menu system. So you can have navigation voice preferences, current location, traffic settings, map view you can change, 2D to 3D, routing preferences. You can actually change the display of points of interest or places of interest icons, and you can also include personal data into the vehicle itself. So your address book, recent destinations, your points of interest, or you can even upload saved locations itself. Now the general settings is for your performance as well of the vehicle. So we've been through the radio, we've been through Bluetooth voice recognition. You can change the voice recognition software a little bit. Your display settings, you can calibrate it for the touch screen, so if there's dirt or for some reason it's not picking up calibration, or where you're actually locating commands on the screen, you can actually calibrate the touch screen itself. You can always turn off the display, and by turning on, just press the power button. You can switch to modes, day and night, or you can have it in auto. And you can see how precise the screen is, like just by clicking in one certain area, I'm already going through different menus. And you can always go through navigation, phone connectivity, and your audio settings just through these little app icons on the top. You also have rear camera options, so you can actually turn on or off your guidelines. You can always return the vehicle to factory settings, and you also have your basic software information on the vehicle. So what I want to show you guys is the valet mode. So here what you can do is you can enter the vehicle into a valet mode. So by putting in the valet mode, it pretty much records what's going on in the vehicle. So if somebody takes your car, you can always go back later on and see what that person did with your vehicle. You can even figure out what the speed they were driving, RPM, stuff like that. I'm pretty sure once you do purchase the vehicle and you actually set up the valet mode, you can even program the amount of gears they can go through and the actual speed they can achieve in the vehicle itself. You can change the language, date and time, and driving modes. So now you have your engine sound management system, which is part of the upgraded exhaust system that's on this vehicle right now. It gives you about 5 horsepower, more power, mechanically speaking. But you can actually also change the sound management of the vehicle itself. You can have it in auto, which is through your mode selector, which we'll show you in a minute. So as you go through track, touring, and sport mode, the audio sound of your exhaust sound changes. Same with the engine. Or you can just completely turn it off and it leaves it with the raw sound. Oh, the screen just turned off on us. So obviously we're in the dealership right now, so we can't start the vehicle. Let's see if we can get the screen back. There we go. Okay, so now back into driving mode. This is where it gets a little bit interesting. You can actually change your steering through this screen. So as I mentioned earlier, through your through the driver's gauge cluster, if you don't leave it in the auto mode selector, you'll never know what your steering system is unless if you go through these settings. So that's why I said, it's probably best to leave your gauge cluster in the auto mode. So when you actually activate the actual selector gauge, which is in the floor console, you'll know exactly what driving characteristic you're in. So again, if you don't like that option, you can always shift it to whatever you prefer. So if you've went through all the steering preferences and you always prefer to drive in touring mode, you can do that. So GM's kind of left it flexible for your liking in terms of driving characteristics. And that's about it for the settings itself. Everything is mostly through the driver's gauge console. Your driving mode we've been through. You can actually go through the radio, just to give you guys an idea. So you can actually manage your favorites. The number of favorites shown, you can change that preference. You can even have an audible touch feedback, so it gives you a beeping noise every time you move your hand around the area. You can even set up your maximum startup volume, which I like. That's actually a really good idea. I wish most vehicles had that. That way you don't, you already know what your volume settings is. Even if you had it cranked last time, it doesn't matter. It always revert back to the maximum startup volume. And again, your audio pilot, you can just pretty much just turn it on and off. And that's it for your radio settings. So now for your Bluetooth, oops. Bluetooth setup, like I said, you can pair a new device. You can actually go through your devices, so if there's multiple people driving this vehicle itself, it'll figure out which device is for who and change your address book accordingly. You can even set up ringtones and your voicemail numbers through this menu option. And for voice recognition, under confidence threshold, pretty much what this means is you can either give full descriptive information to the voice recognition software, or just basic words, and it'll kind of pick up what you're trying to say, and you'll have to confirm a little bit more in detail if it's correct or not. The prompt length, you can change it. You can shorten the length or increase the time it takes. And your audio feedback speed. Your audio feedback speed is just, I guess it picks up how fast you're talking or how slowly you're talking, and you can change that parameter if it's not picking up your voice recognition properly. Now you can always go back to your settings here. You have your radio, media, home. So if you don't want to use the touchscreen, you also have your basic manual buttons, controller here to go through the menus. You even have your arrows to go forward and reverse with your CD player. And below that is your HVAC controls. So the HVAC system won't work unless if the car is on, but it is a dual climate control system with digital readouts on the screen here that you can see the temperature that it's set at, the presets, and your fan speeds. You also have below that have your auto for your HVAC controls. You can turn it on and off your AC, recirculation, heated seats for the driver and cooled seats for the driver, rear defrost, front defrost. You can sync your dual climate control system together, and your passenger has the same controls as well. And if you look to the passenger side of the vehicle, they can actually control the heated seat and the cooling seat feature along with their HVAC controls on the right hand side, instead of interfering with the driver as he's driving the vehicle. Now in terms of the floor console, you have your 12-volt adapter for your cigarette lighter, your leather-wrapped short shift manual knob. This is 6-speed transmission with your reverse on the right-hand side. You have 2 cup holders, electronic parking brake, and this is the mode selector I was talking about that you just flick left to right, and it changes between touring, eco. You can change through weather conditions as well, which I'll show you in a second. That's displaying in my driver's console right now. You can turn on and off the traction control system. And just by flicking this rotary knob, it changes your driving mode. This concludes our video review. We'd like to thank Bud's Chevrolet on providing the vehicle to us. And for more information on the Corvette, you can visit their website or visit ours at www.tccrs.ca. Please subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.